Welcome back to the Rollins Podcast. I'm the Rowan. This will be episode number 13. Grab yourself a cup of coffee, a comfy chair, and let's chat. Well, today I wanted to talk about, and I have previous episodes, I have talked about, at least touched on how I feel that society needs to integrate a little bit more together with the neurotypicals and neurodivergence. It needs to be, I really believe if there was more accommodations and supports put in place for neurodivergence, to have it like meld, like the two neurotypes to just meld together in society. I think it would really help in a lot of ways. I think it'd be very beneficial for society because neurodivergent people have a lot of good traits that are very productive and that be a very big help for society, and so is neurotypicals. And I think a lot of times with the two together, amazing things can happen. And I think the only way for society to meld together would be to have like more research done and more, like I said, more supports and more accommodations. And I don't mean accommodations as far as like neurodivergence gets treated special. You know, it is okay. It is a disability, but I don't believe. Well, I better walk that back a bit. It is a disability, and I do believe that there are a lot of neurodivergent people that do need a lot of support and a lot of help, and they should be given that, and they should be treated with respect and with more care. Um, trying to say this in the best way I can, and sometimes I have a hard time communicating exactly what I mean. So if I offend anybody, that is not my intention. I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm just trying to get across. It's really hard because my autistic part of my brain wants me to be very precise to make sure, it's totally clear, whatever. And then my ADHD part just wants to just ramble on and just say everything under the sun without getting around to the right point. And just, it wants to dolphin include everything in, and it's really hard. But part of what I wanted to share about this whole thing, about the melding of the two neurotypes, to make like one. I mean, it's not like we're like the Sneetches where there's like the star belly Sneetches and the bear belly Sneetches, and we're like in two separate camps, and we're like we're better than the other one. It's not like that. I know that's not the way society is, but I know there's a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of misinformation, and especially with a lot of late diagnosed people coming on board onto the scene. And I know it just seems to a lot of neurotypicals that, oh, hey, oh, there's another one. Okay, so now you're autistic now, so now you have ADHD now. Well, I freaking stuff. So, there's some of that going on. And I wish that it wasn't so much still that way. I wish that there was a lot more information out there. And I am really babbling on in this episode, and I'm not really getting to the point I wanted to make, I guess. This is what happens when you record without a good editing system and you just talk. My what I really wanted to get across, what I really wanted to say, was that it doesn't matter whether we're neurotypical or neurodivergent, whether we're the star belly sneak or the plain belly sneak. That's Dr. Seuss. If anybody wants to know, look that up. Look the snitches up. It's one of my favorite stories. But it doesn't matter how different we are from each other. We're all one. We're all human beings. We're all part of the same human race. And that goes the same with, it doesn't matter what color you are either, or where you're from. You know, you're all part of one race. We're all part of like human race. We're all, to quote scripture, um, and it's found in 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Um, basically, in that chapter, we're being told how we are all many members, many parts of one body. Like verse 16, and if the ear shall say, because I am not the eye, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? If the whole body were an eye, where were the hearing? If the whole body were hearing, where were the smelling? That was actually 16 and 17. The point that the author is making in here, which I believe was Paul, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I will go on with that, Paul, was making was that it doesn't, at least I believe this is what he was trying to let us know, was that we're all equally important. We're all part of that body. And without the other one, like, one person cannot be the entirety of that body. Like, I am not the entirety of the body of the human race. I am not the eye. Like my eye is not my entire body. Because where would the hearing be? Where would the tasting be? Where the mouth be? Where would where would the feet be for walking? Where would if your body was just an eye? And the point he's trying to make is everyone has their own place, their own importance, their own contribution to the body. Like we all belong together. And that's one thing I've never really understood, why there's just so much violence and so much separation between people, and it doesn't matter whether it's a neurotype or whether it's violence against men against women, women against men, young against old, one color against another color. Okay, I am not going into political stuff. I just mean this in the realm of humanity. I've never understood why there's so much fighting between everybody. And it's not like I have never fought against somebody, because I have. And I guess we all have our own little thoughts and feelings, the way that we feel about things. So we all kind of, have a little, this issue here is really bothering me. So I'm going to be, speak up about it or something. And it just seems like the world is delving into a very dark place right now, where everyone wants to fight with everyone else and push their own opinions on everybody else and hurt other people if they don't agree with what they're trying to say. My opinion is, I think everyone should respect everyone else and should know that, hey, this person has their opinion. Well, I respect that they have that opinion, but I have this opinion, and if we don't agree, you should just agree to disagree. I mean, that's the way I am with my best friend and a few of my friends, because my best friend, we are totally opposites as far as political and some ideologies, not all of them. So, and some personal issues too, very much opposites of. But I respect that she has her opinions, and those are important to her. And I'm not going to disparage her. I'm not going to yell and scream at her. I'm not going to treat her bad. I'm not going to turn my back on her because I may think differently. because she doesn't do that to me either. And because I care for her as another human being in this world. And I love her as a person, as a human, as my friend. And I'm not going to hurt her because she doesn't believe the same things I do. Because what would be the point? How would that be good? And I've never understood how people are so hurtful to each other. Not to say that I've never hurt someone else before with my words or my actions, because I have. Everyone has done that. It's human nature. I understand that, but I don't understand why it's human nature. That even makes any sense to anybody out there. And I guess the whole point I wanted to bring this up, it wasn't just, truthfully, I guess it wasn't just about, neurotypes and stuff melding together, although I really do wish that we can find a way to work around this force. Like my example for Walmart, a way to put in, sensory friendly hours. I used to be a minister for a small church. And I did start, because I've heard of other churches doing this, having sensory friendly services. I tried to do that once a month, where the lights would be down low. I had Christmas lights put up around the church. So we turn off the other lights and just have those on, and then the candles, and then the music was very soft. And when we sang, it was very soft. And we didn't get up and pass the peace like we normally would. We only had like a couple services, 2 or 3 services like that, and then COVID hit. And we all know what happened with that. The churches got shut down, and this and that, and so that kind of ended that for me. It was the beginning of the end for me, anyways, for that. So, but society. My point is with that is that society is starting to make integrations, is starting to do that for other, for the neurotypes, so which is cool. But the whole real reason, honestly, the whole reason why I wanted to bring this up was I wanted to talk about us all getting together, getting along together as society. I see the world getting darker, and I see people just fighting each other for no other reason other than your opinions are different from someone else, or your beliefs are different from someone else. Well, have your belief. You're free. God gave us all free choice. Whether you believe in God or not, I am not going to disparage you either way. So please don't disparage me for my beliefs. But I believe, and I know, that God gave us free will. And we choose which way. And sometimes we choose hurtful actions and words. And sometimes we choose to do better. And right now I feel like the world is choosing hateful and mean and horrible things. And they're forgetting that we are all part of the same body in Christ we are. And would you really poke your own eye out? Would you? As your body and you poke your own eye, would you really do that? You probably would not, because it would hurt. For one thing, it would hurt immensely. And you would become probably blind in that eye. If you poked it out, well, obviously your eye wouldn't even be there. So, and then you would have a lifelong issue. Would you really do that to yourself? Because your eye offended you? Like, would you pluck out your eye because an eyelash fell into your eye? You don't like that eyelash. It's bothering you. It's, becoming a pain to you. So is your solution to hate it and to hate that eye and pull that eye out? Which would ultimately hurt you totally. So when we hurt someone else, we are actually, in fact, hurting everyone. We're hurting ourselves. We're hurting society. We're hurting um, everything. Like, I truly believe that forgiveness is a big deal. And a lot of people have a misunderstanding about forgiveness because a lot of people think, well, if I forgive that person, then it makes it seem like what they did was right. No. Forgiveness is never about, well, it can be in a little way, but it is mostly about healing yourself. Because really, if you hate someone else, does that hurt that other person? That hatred and that anger towards them that you feel inside you, does that really affect the other person? I mean, unless you act on that anger, it won't affect the other person. They just, okay, they hate me, so what? They're not gonna be, it's not gonna be like, it's not gonna crush their spirit in their entire life because you hate them. It just turns your heart really dark, and it puts such a weight on you. And I know this from experience because there was somebody in my life that I truly hated. I hated for years. I hated this person. And I fought this person for over a decade. And this person hated me just as much back. And it was a terrible, horrible time because I could never be happy. And I actually ended up going through a major depressive episode where the doctors thought I had multiple sclerosis, MS, because my body was shutting down. My brain was shutting down. My body was, cognitive things were shutting down. My body functions was shutting down. My motor skills, that's what I mean. My motor skills and stuff were, whatever. I went through test after test after test, different things, and then I finally went and seen a specialist in MS, and I kid you not, this man took one look at me without looking at the file, looked into my eyes, just looked at me and said, "It's not MS. I can tell just by looking in your eyes. You are severely depressed. It is depression." And he prescribed me medication for it. And I had to travel like 12 hours to go to the specialist, by the way. And I went home, started taking the medications, started to work with a therapist, things like that. And all those symptoms that I had went away, except for one. And I do think that was part of the depression, but I think it was also part of my autism. It wasn't diagnosed yet, but my speech. When I would get upset or something, I would mix my words up bad. I would be like saying something and totally different from what I thought I was saying. But my point in that is that it hurt me more than it hurt the other person. Me holding on to that anger and that hatred hurt me more than it hurt that other person. It wasn't until Lent come up, a year or so later, the season of Lent come up. And usually, if anybody knows that, is you give up something for 40 days. Or, if you don't give up something for 40 days, then you devote yourself to something for 40 days, basically. And what I did was I prayed for that person every day. Every day. And it was hard. It was super hard because this person caused me a lot of personal pain. But I prayed for this person every day throughout Lent. And by the end of that 40 days, I was able to forgive. And when I forgave, a weight lifted off me. Things weren't so dark anymore. It wasn't such a burden anymore. Now, we didn't really get along for many, many years after that, but I didn't hate this person anymore. And I can have civil conversations with this person now. And we have been able to agree on some things. And so it's been better. And I don't have that horribleness. So I think that's part of why this world is so dark right now. So many people are just filled with hatred and anger, and it's just getting dark in their own hearts, and so that manifests outward to other people and other things, and it just multiplies. It just makes the world darker and heavier. And I think maybe if we can all just find forgiveness for each other, maybe a little understanding, a little patience, a little kindness for each other, then the world can start lightening up a little bit. um, today we just drove into town. It's 45 miles from here. We drove into town, and there's protests going on, and I'm fine with that. People protesting, that's fine. You have a voice, you can use it. That's fine. That's cool. Um, but I worried. It was, from what I saw, was peaceful. You know, but I was worried. And it wasn't a big one. Sorry, adding this, it wasn't a very big one, very small, because it's a small town. But I worried that, what if something escalates? What if something bad happens? I worry about the people protesting. I worry about the bystanders that come by and, might hurt because they start harassing. I worry. I didn't want violence to break out. You know, but people have the right to speak up for themselves. But, I don't, I worry. I don't want violence breaking out. And so it bothered me. It didn't bother me that they were there, really, because, like I said, you have your opinion, I have mine. That's fine. That's fine. If I want to protest against what you're saying, if I want to have my own little protest or my own little support system for the opposite side, I could do that too. And then I would hope that they would respect me as much as I would respect them. But I'm not going to do this, just not me. But I was worried about everybody involved. And my whole point of bringing this all up is that I really want people to start loving each other. I mean, just finding some goodness in everybody, even if it's something small, you know? Because I believe even the worst person that you might think is the worst person has good in there somewhere, you know? Excuse me. I really do. I think everybody has goodness in there, and you just gotta find it. And if you find it, help that person grow that goodness, you know? And yeah, I guess I babbled on, and this isn't like one of my usual ones. Well, I usually babble, but this is a little bit different. And I just really want to talk about, because I just thought it was important to share that I'm worried about everything, how dark everything is, and I really do hope that we could find a way to come together as one and love each other and care for each other and respect each other. It may just be a pipe dream of mine. I mean, I know I can say hurtful things, and I know I can be grumpy towards people, and I know I have started arguments with my husband. And I know I am not perfect either. I have a lot of work to do too. Like, we all have work to do. Um, but I think if we start looking at everyone else as a part of the same body, as a part of the same human race, of all of us being brothers and sisters, basically, that maybe if we looked at it differently, we would treat each other differently. You know, instead of thinking, we're better than someone else because we have a star in our belly. I actually used that story in one of my sermons, actually. Um, Dr. Seuss did make a really good point with that book. And if you never read that book and you don't know what I'm talking about, go find The Sneetches by Dr. Seuss. It is an amazing. I wish it was something that every class, in school, like in first grade, everyone got taught that lesson. Well, even kindergarten, I think. Um, the Star Bellies thought they were better than the Plain Bellied Sneetches, and then Mr. the Fix-It-Up Chappie came in and put stars on the Plain Bellied Speeches and Sneetches, and mayhem ensued, and it's just, and there was a cartoon made of it too. So, and that probably would be the best way for people to go about with it right now, would be the cartoon, because a cartoon was actually very impactful. Um, the book itself is really good, but the way they did it in the cartoon. So go find that. I'm sure you can find it somewhere on YouTube, or maybe Amazon has it or something, or maybe even eBay. Or is that even a thing now for people still? I don't know. It was a long time ago. I'm old, so I don't know what the new thing is. I don't know, but um, look that one up, because it really does. It tells a good story. But I'm just encouraging everybody. Just, how about let's try to share a little bit of love with each other, a little bit of patience with each other, and maybe we can be a light, in this world, to light up that darkness. And I think we really need to do that. And maybe let everyone know that they matter, because we all matter. So I'm gonna leave everybody at that. Thank you for listening to me, and I do appreciate everyone who does listen. Thank you so much. More later.